have a book buying problem. This year in 2025, I have hauled probably more books than I have hauled in many a year, and I just cannot be stopped. New releases are coming out that I absolutely must have, so I've been buying those. I've been going to bookstores to get those, and then I have weak moments in the bookstore. And then also I'm going to a lot of bookish events in my area, which is wonderful, and I love supporting them, but it does mean that I'm bringing in a lot of new books faster than I can read them. And that is a problem because I do have other ways to read books. I have my Kindle. I have a great library system that I could be supporting versus buying the books. So this book haul is going to be my final book haul of the year. And I can guarantee that because I am going on my first ever book buying ban. It is time to put some limits on my book buying. Now, that being said, I am going to allow myself to buy a book if it is for a book club that I am the host for. So B&K Book Club, Patreon book clubs. Just because if that book is picked, I do need a copy of it so that I can read it in a timely fashion. Usually those are new releases, so the library waits are quite long. And I also want to be able to make notes, do tabs, so that I can participate in the live shows more effectively. Also, in theory, that will mean that I'm reading those books fairly quickly because I will buy them, I'll read them for the very specific date of the book club, and they won't just go on my shelves to linger and sit on my TBR for an undetermined amount of time. So that's why I am allowing that little caveat to this book buying ban. But other than that, I am not going to be buying books. I'm also still going to allow myself to go to book swaps because obviously I'm taking books, I'm bringing home books, no money is exchanged, and my TBR is not getting higher. Well, my TBR is getting higher sometimes, but the amount of books on my shelves, the number is not getting higher, if that makes sense. Plus, I want to support these local events. But I'm hoping this will help me support my library more and get back to reading library books. I used to be a big library book reader, and I've gotten away from that in the last 12 months, and I need to get back to that person. So with all that being said, I have 30 new books to haul. I told you I have a problem. So we're going to haul these books, and then I'm not going to be hauling any more books, friends. These will be it. These will be the only books that I am allowed to haul except for free books from here on out from book swaps. Are you with me? I need you for accountability, honestly, because I could easily slip. So I need you to help me be accountable. But most of these are new books. A couple of them are from book swaps. And when we get to that stack, I will let you know, but that's a much smaller stack than the books I bought with my own money. So let's dive in to this very large but final book haul of 2025. These first two books I actually just purchased in a video you would have just seen when I tried to go book shopping on a budget. I knew I was going to put myself on a book buying ban, and I wanted to film that video prior to that because I've been excited to film that video for a while. So I got Summer in the City by Alex Astor. This is a billionaire romance set in New York. I have been loving billionaire romances this year, so that is definitely one of the reasons I picked this up. In this one, we follow Ellie, and she is a screenwriter, and her screenplay is due by the end of the summer, and she has writer's block. And it's supposed to be set in New York. So she moves back to New York, gets an apartment, and finds out that her apartment is next door to a tech billionaire named Parker, who she actually hooked up with once 2 years ago. And they actually are lovers turned enemies. So they do not want to spend time together. But her hatred actually spurs her to get back into her writing, and it breaks her writer's block. So she decides to spend the summer with him discovering New York so that she can write her screenplay. And I'm assuming these lovers turned enemies turn back to lovers. Look at the New York skyline on the edges of this book. It's so pretty. The other book I purchased that day was Ordinary Monsters by J.M. Miro. This book follows two magical people, two young people who have magic and are being hunted by a shadow creature. Charlie can heal himself, and Marlowe can heal others and remend flesh. And they are together, and they are now being escorted to safety across multiple countries by a female detective. And things obviously go down on their journey. I ended up picking The Sisters of Winterwood by Rena Rossner from a used bookstore, and I knew nothing about this book when I picked it up, but I read the synopsis and the cover intrigued me, and I heard magical woods and fairy tales, and immediately I was drawn in to this book and had to pick it up. It was a good price, again, a used bookstore. It follows two sisters who are living in their village when a group of forces come into their village and catches one of the sisters under their spell. As they fight against this dark force that comes to their village, they start to realize that there are some family secrets and there's things that their parents have passed down to them through stories that they now need to know to defeat what is happening in their village now. One of the other things that really caught my attention was part of this story is told in verse. Not all of it, but there are a lot of moments of poetry throughout. And I thought that would be really interesting and really vibe with my love of like lyrical writing. If any book in this stack proves that I have a problem more than The Robin on the Oak Throne by K.A. Lind, I don't know that it exists. I have not read the first book. Wren in the Holly Library is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. It has been sitting on my shelves. You know I love Beauty and the Beast, so I'm assuming I'm going to like it. So I'm assuming I'm going to want to read the sequel, and I'm assuming that I would want the matching sprayed edges, so I bought it. And let's just continue on to another book that makes more sense as to why I purchased it. The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig is making its rounds on BookTube, Book Talk, everywhere, and I want to know what all the fuss is about. I am in my fanrow era, so I picked this up. This follows Sybil, who is a diviner, and people come from all around the world to find out what her dreams and visions say about their future. One day, a knight shows up, and his name is Roderick? Roderick? Yes, Roderick. And he doesn't necessarily believe in all of this divining, but the diviners are starting to go missing. All around Sybil, her fellow diviners are going missing, and she has to recruit Roderick into helping her find them. Since this is a fantasy romance, I do believe that at some point there is a relationship between Sybil and Roderick. Now, even though I am not currently in my thriller era, I do love a Holly Jackson, and Holly Jackson really never lets me down, so I had to get her newest release, Not Quite Dead Yet. This book follows Jet, who has been attacked on Halloween night, and doctors believe that her injuries are going to lead to a deadly aneurysm. She is in the hospital. They think she has 7 days until she dies, so she starts to attempt to solve her murder in 7 days. Holly Jackson always comes up with really interesting ways to tell a story, and I'm intrigued by this concept enough to need it on my shelves. I think I will be picking this up closer to Halloween, though, since it is set at Halloween. Another book that has been making the rounds on BookTube is A Fate Forged by Fire by Hazel McBride. This really gives me Fourth Wing vibes, follows two dragon riders who are waiting for the death of the current king so that they can bond to his dragon to take over ruling because it hasn't been ruled so well as of late. Magic has been deemed illegal, and both of these people kind of want to take the country in a different direction. It follows a prince who I cannot say the name of because truly I don't know, and I will know when I listen to the audio, but right now I can't say the names of either of these characters. But it follows two young people as they fight over this dragon and overruling this empire. And again, it's a fantasy romance, so I do anticipate them to have a relationship. And also one of them is a fire wielder. So again, it really does really sounds a lot like Fourth Wing. Next, we have October's B&K Book Club book of You Belong Here by Megan Miranda. This follows Beckett. Beckett never thought she would return to Wyatt University. However, now she is going to have to. In her senior year of college, 2 men were found murdered. Her roommate went on the run. Is it connected? Unsure from the synopsis, but she has tried to distance herself from it ever since. Now her daughter has secretly applied to go to this college and is going back. And she's hoping that this tiny town and this tiny college has a small memory, but it's very unlikely that it does. I recently read Fear the Flames in a vlog, and right as I was reading that, the sequel was about to come out, and I almost gave it 5 stars. It was just a little bit under because of some of the editing choices, but I truly think this one could be 5 stars for me because this couple is my favorite fantasy romance couple I have read all year. Caden and Elwyn, I absolutely adore them. I adore the dragons. And I think we didn't see as much of the dragons in the first book as we were going to, because her dragons were captured in the first book. That's the entire point of the first book, is that she is an exiled princess and her father is the one who exiled her and has taken her dragons and captured them. And she and Caden team up to get the dragons back because he needs her for an alliance with his country. He's like the lead commander. And they form this like unlikely alliance. So like, you know, allies to lovers, reluctant allies to lovers. And we see the lovers and I want to see them now together and like kicking ass in this book. Honestly, I could not wait to go get this when it came out. And I cannot wait to read this. It must be read by the end of the year because I do think this is possibility for like best books of the year if some of the things that I saw in the first book are fixed. Honestly, even the back, to war my love, like I'm dead. I'm dead just from that. This is another weak moment in a bookstore. This is A Kingdom of Stars and Shadows by Holly Renee. I had never heard of it upon entering the bookstore. Then I saw these beautiful sprayed edges, and then I also saw that it was signed. And I was like, well, I need that. I need that. Yes, I do need it. So I have no idea who the main character is in this book because it doesn't say the name on the back, but she is about to marry a crown prince, kind of a marriage of convenience style, but she can't get someone out of her head, and it's the half fae that stands at the prince's side. And again, I know nothing about it, but I am excited to give it a try because I am really liking fantasy romance right now. And I don't know, something about the back of this really leads me to believe it's going to be a smutty good time. So the Hurricane Wars has been on my periphery to try at some point. And then I was going to the bookstore, and at the same time, one of my patrons was reading this and Live, Laugh, Loving. So I got the sprayed edges copy of it while I was there. This takes place during the Hurricane Wars, makes sense, and it follows Taliesin and Prince Alaric. She is fighting with the people trying to like overthrow the Night Emperor's rule, and she is a light wielder. Prince Alaric is the Night Emperor's son, and he is a shadow wielder. And they are like working and fighting against each other until their powers somehow commingle and they make a whole new strange force of its own. And again, fantasy romance. So I think there's a romance between these two. Also, I do think this is like Raylo coded from what I've heard. Another book that has been on my TBR for quite some time and I just didn't have a copy was The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I know I'm going to love this series. If I don't love this series, I will fall down. Like I fully expect to. Takes place in like a library that has magic or something like that. It says, two strangers find themselves connected by a vast and mysterious library containing many wonders and still more secrets. That really does sound like something I will fully enjoy. And I know so many people who adore this series. When I was at Indigo a couple of weeks ago, they had a deal that if you purchased a book, you could get a fantasy romance from their fantasy romance, like a select fantasy romance for $10. I was quite limited on which ones of those I didn't already own. So when I saw Daughter of the Moon Goddess, I grabbed this. This one has been quite popular around booktube, but I have heard mixed reviews. But I felt like for $10, it was worth giving it a try and seeing if I like this author's writing. I've never tried a Sue Lin Tan book, and also the book itself. And I know nothing more about this, honestly, not a thing, because I wasn't necessarily planning on picking it up, but I have seen it and been interested in trying it. So that's perfectly fine to add it to the TBR as well. Dream On, Ramona Riley by Ashley Herring Blake. My last book by this author was not my favorite, but I have heard from many people that this is a hit. It is a sapphic romance following Ramona and Dylan. Ramona had dreams of working in Hollywood as a costume designer, but her father has an accident and she has to come back to her small town and take care of her sister. 12 years later, a movie is being made in her town. And she's like, great, I can maybe get a job and get my way back into Hollywood. The only problem is the star is Dylan, who she actually had her first kiss with back in Hollywood. Dylan is determined to show that she can make it in Hollywood and stand on her merits, even though her parents are famous, and that she isn't just a nepotism hire. So she is determined, and she starts to shadow a waitress, Ramona. And eventually, I don't know how long this takes, but realizes she knows Ramona and remembers her very vividly from a very good kiss many a year ago. So this is second chance romance. It's a Hollywood kind of relationship. Both things I have liked many a time before, so I have very high hopes for this book. Next, I have Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood. This is the companion novel to Not in Love, which is my favorite Ali Hazelwood book. So I have very high hopes for this, considering I also really liked these characters in the first book. This follows Connor and Maya. Maya's a grad student. He is a biotech, runs a biotech company. And again, we know them from the other book, but they are small characters, and companion novels are somewhat like that. So you could definitely read this without reading the other. This one I also did not realize, and maybe I did, but I forgot, but it's Brother's Best Friend, which is one of my favorite tropes in romance. So Maya's brother is getting married. He is getting married in Sicily. Connor's invited. Maya is also invited because obviously it's her brother. They go to Sicily and they decide to have a summer fling in Sicily together, even though this may be slightly problematic. So there's not very many books that I would leave in a bookstore that have sprayed edges, that have cats and baking utensils and bakery items on the spine, because obviously that means there's some sort of baking going on. Throw in that it's a cozy fantasy, and I had to get A Harvest of Hearts. In this book, we follow Foss, and in this world, the sorcerers harvest hearts to make their magic. Yes, hearts from people. One day, Foss's heart is harvested, well, only partially and accidentally by a sorcerer. So she, infuriated by this, as you would, stomps to the sorcerer's house to demand that he fix this half-harvesting that he has done. She realizes that this sorcerer has no idea what he's doing. He's very new into his powers and he is not really able to do anything correctly. And she is even more enraged and is like, you need to fix this. And they need to bumble about and figure it out. One of the other things that I really loved when I read the synopsis was that Foss's only friend is a talking cat. Yes, please. And even the house's walls themselves have moods. This sounds like it's going to be a really interesting magical world. And I do think there's going to be some humor throughout as well. Baking, talking cat, yes, please. I ended up going to a local book signing by two local authors who I have read from before, and I own a book by Amy James, but I actually haven't read it yet. So I need to get on that sooner rather than later. But I got both books signed while I was there, and I purchased them while I was there. Crash Test by Amy James is a male-male Formula One romance, and The Shots You Take is a male-male hockey romance. And I'm excited to read both of them at some point. I really need to try Amy James though, because I have tried Rachel Reed before, but I need to. I own two books. I need to try them. The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst had to be purchased. It is the matching sprayed edges edition to the Spell Shop, which is right there. I love the Spell Shop. I love the cozy world that is the Spell Shop. And this is the prequel. And we followed the person who created Kaz, who is one of my favorite characters in the first book, and he is a talking spider plant. And I'm really intrigued to hear more about the person who created Kaz and also a little bit of his backstory. I've heard that it's not a big part of this book, Kaz specifically, but I really enjoyed the cozy writing and the cozy vibes of the Spell Shop, and I'm sure that will all float into this one. This book I bought before it started to make its rounds all over the internet. I've heard a lot about it since purchasing it, but when I walked into the bookstore, it was new release day, and I actually didn't know this was coming out. But upon hearing the synopsis, you will hear the synopsis and you will know that I needed this book. This is Immortal Consequences by I.V. Marie. I mean, the sprayed edges are part of the reason I need to go on this book buying ban, honestly. This is part of the problem. It's I can't control myself. I'm just going to read the first line of the synopsis to you verbatim, because then you will know when I walked into the store what I read and immediately why I snatched it up. And it says, "Welcome to Blackwood Academy, the legendary school located on the fringes of the afterlife." So it is a school setting, it is dark academia, and it's set in the afterlife, which I love books set after death or in hell or something like that. Ninth house, hellbent, the spirits, the fringes. I want it all. And then you give me a school, give me dark academia, give me 6 rivals, 1 victor. If this didn't come home with me, it was a crime. It was a crime against humanity. I love that when we get this deep into a book haul, I feel the need to justify myself more than is probably necessary, because y'all understand, y'all are also book people, but I feel the need to justify myself, and the Delulu really shows. And That's why I'm going on a book buying ban. Anyway, once a student enters the academy, the only way to get out is to graduate. And you either, upon graduating, get to choose to become one of the magical elite or to cross over to the other side. This is the last book I bought for full price. The rest of them were free. So this is the last one I bought, and it is The After Dark. And you may think this one be strange that I bought because it is kind of horror, but it's dark academia, which is why I got it. I actually purchased this before the Amazing Readathon, thinking that I would read it during the Amazing Readathon so that I could get points for the Illusionists. Obviously, that did not happen because I wouldn't be hauling it. I only haul books I haven't read. I don't typically like put books that I've hauled that I have read. I don't know why I do it that way. It's just how I do it. But I didn't read it yet. So every night at Northcroft Academy, the bell tolls and the shutters slam closed and the forest outside becomes a macabre copy of itself. That is what the synopsis says. So things get creepy. We follow Holland and Evie. They are both students. They become fascinated with each other. They start a relationship, and this attraction turns into obsession, and they start playing a very dangerous game. Okay, this stack is much shorter, so we're almost done. And these, again, were all free from book swaps or Little Free Libraries. I think they're all from book swaps except for one. But yeah, let's dive into it. I have enjoyed Catherine Center's books before, so when I saw this Pretty Sprayed Edges there at the book swap, I had to have it. And you can actually see me going to this book swap in a Doing Bookish Stuff vlog, and the next 4 books are from that book swap. So we have The Rom-Commers by Catherine Center. This follows Emma and Charlie. Emma is a screenwriter. Well, she's a fail screenwriter. She wanted to be a screenwriter, but she ended up having to take care of her father. But she just won a contest to co-write a screenplay with Charlie, who is one of these very famous screenwriters and is kind of her idol. So she flies to LA for 6 weeks to do so and is quite disappointed upon meeting Charlie, who does not want to write the screenplay, does not like writing rom-coms, and really is just doing it so that he can get another script greenlit. She has to bring him in and show him the belief in love and to get him to write this with her. And it's a romance, so she shows him love with loving him. The Book of Love by Kelly Link I had not heard of when I picked it up, but the synopsis was so interesting. And we follow 3 young people, Laura, Daniel, and Mo, and they find themselves in their high school classroom a year after they have gone missing, and they do not know how they have gotten here. They are very confused. They don't really know what's happening, and they have been presumed dead, and they are presumed that way because they are. In that room, there is their music teacher who does seem to know what's going on, and he gives them a choice. They can return to their families if they complete a series of magical tasks, and there are winners and there are losers. The Courting of Bristol Keats was a book that I'd had my eye on. I wasn't really sure if it was going to work for me, and I'm still unsure. I'll have to give it a try to find out. But getting it for free at a book swap was the perfect time to pick it up. It follows Bristol and her sister, but mostly Bristol, and they have lost their parents. They find out that their father actually might be kidnapped and not dead, but he has been taken to another land, like a land of fae and monsters, and she decides to go there after him. And she gets helped by a fae leader who actually might have been the one who sent her parents on the run and is just as desperate to find her father as she is. Sing Me Forgotten is a Phantom of the Opera fantasy romance. That's why I picked it up, and that's all I know about it. And it's pretty small, so at some point I will give this a try. Again, I got it at the same book swap that I got all of those. But this is the last one that I am hauling that I got there. I have already unhauled some of the ones I got at that book swap because I tried them and realized they didn't work for me, but these are the ones that are going on my shelves and going on my TBR. At a different book swap, I got Our Infinite Fates. This was at a book swap where I went to a silent reading party, which was very interesting to attend, and they had a book swap as part of that. This book follows Evelyn, and Evelyn remembers all her past lives, and she remembers that she's always murdered before she hits the age of 18 by like a devil that is hunting her. However, she likes her current life, and her little sister needs her to survive, to take care of her, and she does not want this to happen to her. So the only way to avoid this is by hunting down the demon that has been continually killing her and figuring out why she's cursed and ending it. Small Blessings does not have a synopsis, so I literally know nothing about this, but it is a graphic novel that I picked up at a book swap. And honestly, I'm always looking for graphic novels that I can use for readathons, etc. And they are quite expensive. So to get one for free at a swap is perfect. This one is also signed, which was kind of fun. The last book I have is the one that I got in my most recent book shopping video. I got it at a little free library during that video, and it is Play Like a Girl. This is a graphic novel that follows Misty, who is a girl in middle school, and she loves football and she wants to play football, but there isn't a girls team, so she joins the boys team. And that is what we follow in this graphic novel. For the same reason I picked that up, I saw this at the little free library and picked this one up. But that is the end of this book haul. We got to the end of it. We did it. That was all the books I hauled. I cannot believe this is my last book haul for the year because I am going to stick to this book buying ban. Now, again, remember the rules. I'll still be able to go to swaps. So books may come, but they will be free books that come into this house. But I won't be able to go book shopping. This is going to be hard, but I really need to. I really need to put some boundaries on the amount of books coming in this house and like utilize my library, as I said at the start of this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, but have nothing to say down in the comments, leave me like the red, no sign, which is like the circle with the X through it, which one I mean, for like not being able to buy any more books. Leave that emoji down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one, friends.